All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining here with our Washington Saves presentation. Dave Maddock here with Maddock and Associates. And the reason we're bringing this to you is mainly for education. Maddock and Associates, we are not 401k providers or retirement providers, but this is a new law that has been passed and it's going to be impacting everybody. And so most of our clients, they're going to be impacted by this. So what I've done is we teamed up with Andrew Howard from SES. They're a great retirement plan provider, and they work with small to large businesses. And so this isn't necessarily a promotion for them or anything, but Andrew offered to do a nice webinar for us to explain this new law and how it might impact your business and some things to look out for. So Andrew's been in the business for forever, and Andrew can fill in a little bit more about his background. But what I'll do is I'll turn it over to Andrew.
Thanks, Dave. And thanks, Dave and Todd, both for setting this up. This is great. So hi, everybody. So we're just going to take a few minutes to go through this. This is some pretty important stuff. If you have an existing retirement plan at your company or your organization today, it's less of a concern. It's just something you may want to find out a little bit more about. If you have, in general, we're going to use some kind of round numbers here, but in general, if you've got about 5 employees and you do not have a retirement plan, then the state of Washington has followed the lead of some other states around the country. Here on the West Coast, both Oregon and California have already started up a mandatory plan for small businesses. So here in Washington, it's called Washington Saves. So like Dave mentioned, the legislation has already been passed, but like a lot of times what happens in Washington State is they pass legislation and then fill in a lot of details later. So we have some details, but we'll flesh that out between now and the middle of next year. The middle of 2027 is when this will finally take effect. And then we're going to have some more details here by the end of this year. So if we can go to the next slide, we will kick this off. Okay, so target effective date, we're looking at July 1st, 2027. And let's talk conceptually about what it is. So everybody knows your retirement plans in general today. They're a 401k or a profit sharing. Excuse me, if you're a nonprofit, it's a 403b. You can also do a 401k if you're a nonprofit, but in general, they're defined contribution plans that all look kind of similar. So as everybody on the phone knows here, there is a retirement crisis going on in the U.S. Social Security has some issues. They keep talking about when the trust fund is going to run out. There's been encouragement from the government to start these plans to kind of supplement that. For the last several years, the costs incurred in running a retirement plan are always deductible. But since about the last 4, 5, 6 years, they've made some other things available that are tax credits as opposed to tax deductions. This is kind of the capper where they're going to say, listen, everybody that has roughly 5 employees that has not put a plan together is going to be required to participate in Washington Saves. So there's a few caveats and a few rules so far. And then as of the end of this year, December 1st, we're going to get, hopefully at least, a lot of design details and flesh it out a little bit more. And then operational is going to be July 1st, 2027. So really what it's doing is it's just addressing the shortfall in retirement savings by requiring small businesses to incorporate, if they don't start their own retirement plan, then they're going to have to adopt the Washington Saves plan. Okay, if we can hit the next slide, please. So we'll look at it from a couple different points of view. So we're going to start with from the employee's point of view. So the program itself is going to be IRA based. So it will not be a 401k or a 403b. Technically is going to be an IRA that is done at the company level. It has where you can do payroll withholding. Everybody likes to save through their paychecks on a per paycheck basis. That's kind of the beauty of the 401k world, is you set it and forget it, and it comes out of your paycheck every week, and you kind of stop thinking about it. This is going to kind of replicate that. So from the employee's point of view, if you work for a company and you're 18 or older, you will be auto-enrolled into the plan, which means you're in unless you opt out, and they'll make plenty of provisions for you to opt out. They haven't set the contribution percentage yet, but they have indicated it's going to be between 3 and 7%. And remember, what that means is you can opt out of the plan. If I work for a company and they have a Washington Saves, I get opted in. I can either opt out or I can change that percentage. So let's say they decide on 5%, if that's too much and I do want to participate, but I don't want to put in 5%, I can drop that down, right? To 2%, 3%, 4%. Or if I said, gosh, I've been waiting for this to happen, I really want to start socking money away, I want to put in 10% of my paycheck, you'll be able to do that too. There is likely going to be what we call automatic increase incorporated into this. So that means if I get opted in at 3%, then each year that would go up by 1%. And typically that's just going to be for the people who don't make any changes. If you've made some changes to it, it probably won't happen. So the details are going to be, they're going to follow the, rather than replying on there, somebody just asked a question. I don't know if anybody else could see that. Would they have to re-opt out each job that they change? Not 100% certain about that. The likelihood, I will go out on a limb, is probably yes. But it is portable, as you can see there in the bullet points. It's portable, so if you change jobs, you don't even really take it with you. It's just you keep the account, and then you can contribute to that account from your new employer. So it'll be, if I get opted into a plan and I don't choose an investment, it's going to go into a default investment, which is likely going to be one of the target date funds. So they're based on your retirement date, right? Your age and thus your retirement date. So the 2050 fund or the 2065 fund or the 2030 fund, something like that. There is no matching, so there's no employer matching for these. And there's really, one of the downsides is there's very little flexibility in it, right? It is an IRA. It's up to me, meaning the employee, how much money I can put into it. And then the cost is borne by the employees, right? The people, not employees specifically, but the people that are participating in it, whether you're a business owner or not. Just on an account base. So you don't have to pay an annual fee or a setup fee or anything like that. Yeah, I think the hours, I've not seen an exact number on it, but I think they are pretty much gearing it towards roughly full time. I think 2,080 hours is the number that they were using, but I'm going to hedge on that because we have not seen the final regs. So there's no employer matching, there's no vesting schedule because the money would all be employee money going into the plan, so there's nothing to vest. And then again, you can take the money with you when you change jobs. Okay, next slide, please. So from the employer's point of view, we do have a little bit more details. So you have to have been in business for 2 years, and you have to have a physical presence in the state. That's what the law says. We are assuming that means a human body as opposed to a warehouse or something like that. But again, more to come. And it's only for employers, that have not offered another retirement plan, a qualified plan. So 401A, a 401k, a 403B, or even the other ones like a SEP or a simple or a defined benefit plan. So if you have offered one of those in the last 3 years, or if you currently offer one, you will not be required to participate in the Washington Saves program. And then this last bullet point is kind of what I was going off of for the hours worked. Employees working for a combined minimum of 10,400 hours.
Andrew, yep. Question. If an employee has a retirement account or a retirement plan already, so you mentioned 401k, simple,
yep.
SEP, does any account qualify, just that they offer it, or is there any specific rules about the level of contribution or anything on their current plan?
Great question. I don't think there is any requirement like that. And I could just throw out an example. Let's say you've got 20 employees and you offer a 401k, which is the most common one, and you've only got 7 people, let's say 7 of your 20 employees participate in that, still counts as offering a plan. As far as I know, even if only a couple people were participating in it, it's whether the company or the organization offers a plan to that same group of employees.
Perfect.
So, and I'm sorry, everybody, that we're kind of keeping this general. It's really all the information we have at this time. A lot of this stuff I pulled right off of the off the government websites. So let's go to the next slide, please. So I guess the kind of a broader question is what are the options out there? And Dave made a great point. This is it's not a sales pitch to set up a 401k. That is what I do. So he mentioned that earlier. So I'm a financial advisor. Myself and my firm specialize in retirement plans for the most part. And we do a lot of them for small, medium, and some larger companies. But the nice thing is that just like there's different options out there today, this is just going to be a great alternative for probably especially the smallest employers, but not necessarily. It's really going to depend on the fact pattern of your company, and that's something we help you review. So even today, if anybody on the horn here has a simple IRA, that kind of looks and feels like a 401k, but there's other rules and regulations to that. Those are a great fit for certain companies. And at the end of the day, Washington Saves is going to be the same thing. So options are you can set up all kinds of customized retirement plans that really fit specifically for the needs of your company. You can do things like manage whether there's eligibility requirements, matching if there are employer contributions. You can put vesting schedules. You can offer a variety of investments. You can offer loans. The Washington Saves is going to be a one fit for everybody, which is just fine because in a lot of ways it keeps the cost down, which is good. And then the other thing is it'll make it easy to adopt. So we like that. And then we're just talking a little bit more here. Tax credits are available for a new plan. So at the employer level, you won't need those for the Washington Saves plan because the fees are basically built into the investments. But if you wanted to go out and set up a 401k for your company, there's fees that are involved in that. And we make sure that you get to utilize the maximum extent possible for the tax credits up front. And then if there's any remaining cost, then those costs are deductible, which is nice. So your net cost at the end of the day turns out to be obviously a lot lower than the gross cost before the credits and the deductions. So again, it's kind of a two sides of the coin. One of the reasons that the federal government is willing to give tax credits and tax breaks to steer behavior is because they know there's a crisis as far as people saving for retirement. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so increase in the startup tax credits. So this has been around for looking like 4 or 5 years now, or 3-4 years. For the most part, if you are a company up to 50 employees, then you are going to get a per head tax credit. So up to 50 employees, and the NHCE stands for non-highly compensated. So basically, if I own a company and I've got 5 or 10 employees, we're going to look at those very likely as non-highly comped. If you're a business owner, you are almost exclusively going to be classified as a highly comped. So there's a formula behind it, but at the end of the day, what they do is they add it up and then it just comes off your when you file your corporate taxes. I saw a question pop up and it went away before I could read it. Dave or Todd, did
Yeah,
you
so
see that?
the question was if you already offer a 401k plan to your employees, but you have some employees that don't take advantage of it, would you be required to enroll them in this Washington Saves plan? Or would the fact you offer a 401k just eliminate the need to deal with the Washington Saves plan altogether?
Yeah, the good question, whoever asked that, and it would be the second one. It's really, I guess if we just want to kind of put it in a broad basket, it's not based on the number of employees that are taking advantage or adopting or participating. It's at the corporate or organizational level. Do you offer one to your employees? And if you do that, then Washington Saves is not going to apply. It is truly only for companies that are not offering a retirement plan, and so they've made it's pretty low cost, not a lot of bells and whistles, easy for companies to adopt if they have not done one. The takeaway is just that you don't get a lot of flexibility. There's no matching, you can't make any profit sharing, you can't throw in any additional dollars for the owner. On the 401k side, you can get pretty creative between the 401k and profit sharing, and then there's some other options out there too. But again, it's really going to depend specifically on what you need at each individual company. Here, I'm just trying to show that the Fed has also really said they're trying to make it more affordable. Small plan retirement plans they're relatively affordable, but still there's nothing free. Right? You got to pay to have it administered, and you got to pay for the investments, et cetera. So getting these tax credits and different tax qualifications can help. Anybody who still doesn't take advantage of it is going to be required. It sounds a little bit like Big Brother-ish, but you do need to register with the state, and then they will be able to track if you qualify for it. If you're not offering a plan, will you need to adopt the Washington Saves? Okay, next slide, please. So this is just another one. You also are able, and when I say you, I mean at the business level, you're able to get some credits for matching dollars that you put in. So if I run a company and I decide to set up a plan, and I decide that I'd like to put some, if my employees put some money in, I want to match that. There's also some tax credits for that. So really trying to kind of smooth out setting up a plan to absorb some of those costs. The cap is $1,000 per participant that are making under $160,000. You get 100% of that for the first couple of years, and then it starts slowing down over the next 4 years. But it's a great way to reduce and defray costs as you are starting. On both of these last slides, I've got a note that says over 50 employees have different tax credits. They are still available. It's just different formulas. Not quite as attractive. The ones that they're really incenting are under 50 employees. Next slide, please. So this is just, my title doesn't 100% sync here, but what I wanted to walk through here was just the differences in what can go into these plans. So you've got deferrals. So let's just pretend I'm your employee. If I want to defer money into this plan, whether it's Washington Saves, which tracks with your IRA dollar amounts, or a simple IRA or a 401k/403b, there's different dollar amounts involved. So the IRA, the Washington Saves program, it's going to be, the deferral is $7,500 a year, which is great. And this is really one of the things we look at up front, is that if nobody in the company, including, let's say, the owners, if nobody wants to put in more than $7,500 a year, or with a catch-up, which means if you are over 50, another $1,100 here, then you know what? Honestly, the Washington Saves program might be the best option for you because of the, pretty easy to administer, the low cost. So that's one of the very first things we would look at. Simple IRA and 401ks have higher contribution limits. So with a simple IRA, you can put in $17,500. If you're 50 or above, you can put in an additional $4,000. And then in the years above here where it says 60 to 63, you can actually put in 5250, not in addition to the 4,000, but instead of the 4,000. So you can put in even more. Why we have asked this question, this is relatively new with some new legislation. Why only ages 60 to 63? And that has to do with the fact that the government, federal government is looking at that as giving up tax dollars. So they couldn't just come out, or they didn't want to just come out and say, hey, from age 60 on. So they put it in a real finite spectrum here, but it's for people to be able to save more as they're closing in on retirement. And then you've got your 401k, which are the biggest dollars available. So everybody can put in up to 24,500 for calendar year 2026. If you are 50, the year you turn 50, you can put in an additional $8,000. That's the standard catch-up contribution, and you can do that for the duration. And then the super catch-up again for the ages 60 to 63. It's not 8,000, it's 11,250. And you're able to do that for those years, and then it would default back to the $8,000. So not all that many people max out their 401k, just the 24/5, but a good percentage do, especially business owners or obviously more highly compensated people. Catch up, same thing. If people are really starting to get concerned with retirement, you're able to throw another 8 grand in there. And then if you can really afford it, you can even put in another $3,000 or so for those 4 years when you're turning 60 to 63. So these would be some of the things we would really look at if one of Dave's clients came to them and said, hey, we actually would like to set something up. There's some different options. This is really the conversation starter, is how much do people want to put in? And that's going to dictate which one of the options is probably going to be the best for each individual company. Everybody's different, and also needs change as the company either grows or shrinks or what have you. So real flexible. And then if we can just take a look at the next one. So this I don't want to go through this in a ton of detail. What this just kind of shows is that the credits. So for example, the new plan credit, there is a formula that you get to this. It's the $250 per head. It caps out at $5,000. So if you had enough employees, you could literally get up to a $5,000 credit, which is going to pay for either a good majority or even all of your retirement plan. So that's pretty attractive, and that lasts for the first 3 years. There's another credit that you get automatically now. It's for doing automatic enrollment. That is a change that went in not too long ago, where companies that are starting new plans pretty much have to do automatic enrollment. And so you get an additional $500 credit for the first 3 years, which is another bonus. And just if anybody has heard of automatic enrollment, way back in the day, there used to be, it was a little bit hinkier to set up, and it was there was some conflicts between federal law and state law. The company that really pioneered automatic enrollment is McDonald's, which everybody can probably imagine why, right? Tons and tons of lower paid, younger, especially employees. Their participation was terrible. They put in automatic enrollment, and all of a sudden 80% of the people were opted in and stayed in the plan. So pretty much all companies that are setting up new plans, whether it's Washington Saves or anything else, is required to do automatic enrollment. And then the contribution credit, that's for the matching dollars. So again, if I'm an employer, I set up a plan, I get a credit for the money that I'm matching. And that starts as high as 20 grand and then goes down over the next 3 years, and then it goes away after year 5. So you can see the dollar amounts start to really add up. We're talking about, and again, it is a formula, so it would depend on the number of employees you have. If you have 5 or 6 employees, the per head number stays the same, but obviously the overall number will be lower. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Dave asked me to keep it pretty short and sweet, everyone. So I guess we have time for some questions if we still have any left.
Yeah, Howard, there's a question that came up, and I think you may have addressed it, but it might be more clear. The question was, does Washington State require a plan to apply for self-employed single employees? So basically, you mentioned around 5 employees is when you would be required. So could you go through a little bit more on exactly like very small companies, which ones would not be required to participate in Washington Saves?
Yeah, all I can do right now, Dave, and it's a great question, right? It's kind of where the rubber hits the road. All I can do right now is kind of fall back to the one piece of guidance that they said was a combined 10,000, I forget exactly, I think it was 10,400 hours. So if if Dave and I run a consulting company, it's just the two of us, even as hardworking as Dave is, we're not going to hit the 10,000 hours between the two of us, so we would not be required to do that. But if we had five other employees and we all worked full time, that would add up to 14 or 15,000 hours for everybody, and yeah, we would be required to do it. So I think I can pretty comfortably say if you've got less than five employees working less than that 10,400 hours, you very likely would get an exemption and not have to participate. The flip side is, especially with Washington State, with the other one, you got to set it up yourself, even a simple IRA, and then especially a 401k, right? You've got some more work to do there. But with the Washington Saves, really, you're just making it available to your employees. There's not much administration. It would be more of just setting up another payroll withholding from your employees. And then depending on what they decide to put into the plan, you're going to withhold that from their paychecks. And then I'm pretty sure they don't even have a specific vendor selected yet. I think that's what's hoped to be done by the end of this year. I do know a couple people that are on the board of the Washington Saves, and I have yet to put out a feeler to them, but I'm going to after this conversation. There's a 15-person civilian, I guess you would call it, board or citizen board that is making a lot of these decisions, and a couple of them are people that I know that work in the retirement plan industry. They're not all government employees, which is a nice mix. And then I saw another one about the variable hours. I'm just not sure about that. I know that the initial snapshot is going to be that initial 10,000 plus hours. After that, if you were required to set it up, I think you'd probably just have to keep it, even if the hours went below that. My guess is once it's in place, they wouldn't want companies to say, no, we're not going to do it this year, but then we would next year. My guess, but all this is going to be verified when we get more information, but very likely if you set it up, if it's ABC company and you had 11 employees and you had to set it up, and then in year 3 the hours worked, very likely it would just stay up and running.
Great. Thanks for answering that question. One question I had is, do you know how much the state will be involved with the actual management of the investments? Depending on, things have gotten very political, but some people might be very happy to have the state be involved with their retirement account, while others may not. Do you know what extent they would be involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm gonna try to stay out of politics. I think I probably fall into the group that I wouldn't be as thrilled because it's what I do. Um, but it'll be 100% done by, if you don't want to call it the state, it will be the board that is appointed to run the Washington Saves, to be kind of the management and oversight committee. And they, with whatever, I'm going to call it a record keeper, and let's just say it's like a Vanguard or Fidelity or something like that. The board of trustees on the Washington Saves would very likely work with that record keeper to select investment options and then monitor, review them as they go, and then make any changes on an ongoing basis. So it's going to be a lot like if a big company, a Fortune 500 company like an Amazon or a Boeing or something like that. It'll be done at the trustee level, and everybody is going to have the same investment selection. It's not going to be I want to go with Vanguard, you want to go with Fidelity. It's going to be you get what you get.
All right. Well, great. Well, I think that answers most of the questions. So just to kind of summarize, one is keep an eye out for changes. A lot of this laws, there's details that are being ironed out, like specifically, if if you're above and below that 10,000 hour mark, are you going to have to keep it or set it up or not? So you're going to want to keep up for that. And then also one thing to know is if you already have a retirement plan set up, whether it be an IRA, simple plan, 401k, then you should be good opting out of this program. But if you do not have a retirement plan set up and you have over about 5 employees, then you're going to want to dig in and decide, does it make sense to go with this Washington Saves plan, or would it make sense to do something like a 401k or simple IRA or another employer control plan? So a lot of people I know already have a retirement plan, so this is just kind of an FYI, and there may be some registration thing you have to do to like prove that. But if you don't have one, then it's something to be considering whether or not just opt into the state plan or set something up on your own. One final question, Howard. It says, if an employee has an IRA set up outside of the company, would they be able to contribute to both their own IRA, or is it just pressuring employees to enroll if they are not currently saving?
Great. Actually, that's a great question. Getting a little bit into the weeds for the information that we have available now. But in general, if it tracks like it would in a lot of other circumstances, then I guess I'll answer it 2 different ways. Number one, employees having an IRA outside of the Washington Saves would not eliminate the need for that company or that organization to offer it. But also they would very likely not be able to double up because it is still an IRA. That is something that I'm actually curious about too. In other words, could you do your own IRA at the bank or at the brokerage firm or wherever you do it, and then also participate and fund this? I kind of doubt it, but more to come. That has not been hammered out yet, as far as I know. And we're looking directly at the government's websites to keep track of this stuff.
Yeah, and then one more question, ask what the cost to the Washington Saves plan is. And the cost, there'll be no like direct billed cost to the employer. There will be fees within the funds that will fund this program. So when people invest, they'll have to look into whatever the fees are built into the funds, and that's what's designed to pay for this plan. And then there's always an administrative cost. And so, dealing with the program is, that just depends on how easy they make it to use or not.
I would say that's an exactly perfect answer.
All right. So yeah, so we'll be doing is we'll be sending out a recording to this presentation, everybody that registered. And then if you guys want to get me to be put in touch with Howard, just email your representative at Maddock and Associates, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with him. Once again, this is just informational. I want to make sure that everybody is on top of the latest breaking laws and well ahead of when the deadline is. And as was mentioned, this will actually become something that's going to be required July 1 of 2028.
Great.
Or 2027.
2027, that's right.
All right, July 1, 2027. All right. Well, thanks for joining.
Thanks, everyone.